Hey everyone, Cloud Chief here, and today I wanted to talk about an important subject. And the subject is leadership. Leadership is so important, especially right now in the turbulent times we're in, especially since we're in the middle of a recession. We're going to need good, strong leaders to help get us out of, the predicament we are in. There are two basic forms of leadership. There's leadership by consent and there's leadership by force. Leadership by force is only going to work for so long because you're not going to have willing followers following you. They're only going to follow you because they're being forced, and that's only going to work so far. Where if you have followers by consent, they'll be willing to do so much more than what you might expect. But there are certain characteristics that you have to be a leader that's going to have willing followers. Both leaders and followers are very important. Leaders are important because they're going to have the vision to take us to places and help us grow that we wouldn't have otherwise gone to. Followers are important because they're the driving force behind it all. Without the followers, the leader essentially has nothing, and nothing can get done without having the followers there. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being a follower. Actually, a lot of the best leaders were really good followers at some point, and they were really good followers and actually stayed close to the leader and listened to them and looked to them for leadership. That's how they learned how to be good leaders, because they followed good leaders. There are 11 characteristics that will make up a good leader. The first of these characteristics is courage, which means they're going to have faith in themselves and faith in their team when they run into adversity, so that way they can push through and accomplish their goal regardless of any problems that come up. The second of these is self-control. The leader needs to have discipline in himself if he's going to expect his followers to have discipline. If the leader is out of control, then it's going to be very easy for the followers to get out of control, and then you're just going to end up having chaos on your hands, and that's not going to make for a successful plan. The third characteristic that the successful leader needs is justice. He needs to have a keen sense of what is right and what is wrong, because if the leader isn't doing what is right, there's going to be mistrust between his followers. The next characteristic that the successful leader needs is he needs to be decisive. If he can't make decisions and make decisions promptly, he's going to end up losing the faith of his followers. The fifth characteristic is having forethought. If you can't think ahead and figure out plans for what's going to happen, then you're going to end up having a lot of guesswork, and then you're going to be making a lot of mistakes and just causing a lot of problems. This next one is probably the very most important one on the list, and that's the willingness to do any job that is required. A lot of bad leaders will think certain jobs are below them and that they shouldn't do them, when that should not be the case. A successful leader is going to be willing to do any job that is required when the need arises. The seventh characteristic on the list is actually having a pleasing personality. If you have just a bad personality, people aren't going to like you and you're not going to end up having followers. You need to have actually a good personality for people to actually like you, to give you a chance, so that the way they'll actually follow you. The next characteristic on the list is the leader needs to have empathy. If the leader doesn't have empathy, then he's not going to be able to connect with his followers, because he's not going to be able to relate to them and have understanding with them. So it's important that he actually cares about his followers. The ninth aspect that the successful leader needs is mastery of details. He needs to have detailed plans so that way he knows every aspect of what's going on. He also needs to know the details of all the jobs and responsibilities of his followers, so that way he can make sure that everything is going along and running smoothly. The next characteristic that the leader needs is a pretty big one, and that's the willingness to take full responsibility. Considering he is the leader, he needs to be ready to take responsibility for any problems that arise, even if it's not even directly his fault and it's one of his followers, because he is the leader. If a follower ends up messing up and failing, the leader needs to step up and take responsibility and say that that is actually his failure for not giving the follower what he would need to have success. And the last characteristic that the successful leader needs is cooperation. He needs to be able to cooperate and come to agreement with his followers on some terms. And he also needs to be able to inspire others so that way they can cooperate. That way you can all work together to have a successful plan. For us to have success in our life and success in our society, we need to have successful leaders that follow these traits. So it's so very important that leaders adopt these traits so that way we can make sure we have success in our life. I hope this video gave some value, and I hope that you take these aspects and characteristics and adopt them to yourself so that way you can be a successful leader. May you have success in all you do.